What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White. The Wizards are 3 games into their preseason stretch so far, almost to the regular season here. Just, Jahadi, I guess overall, what's been your take on their preseason experience so far? More good than bad, or what are you thinking of what you're seeing so far?
I guess, my thing with it is it's all about the comparisons and what you compared it to.
Okay.
The only comparison that you really can compare it to is as far as progression goes is last year.
Sure.
Right? How did they end off last year? How they starting to begin this year?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to consider last year's, they had a lot of players that played together for a while. So it's new players this year. So now you think about continuity and chemistry, which you don't really expect right out the bat, right out the gate.
Yep.
So, I'm always considering that factor when I do my comparisons and when I'm trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as right now, I see them still trying to build chemistry.
Yep.
Right. I see them really trying to include Sarr in a lot of offenses, and he's surprising.
Yep.
I see Kuzma and Poole more trying to involve the new players, right? So let me not get out there and put the pedal to the metal myself. Let me involve all the new players and get them incorporated first. So now offensively, I can see them running some high screen and pick and roll action, where you screen to pop out and pick and a guy roll, which looks good. I like how Sarr is playing off the ball in the action really good. He plays well without the ball in his hand. He's not a ball in his hand type of guy more than he's a finding spots and playing off the ball really well, which to me is better.
Agreed.
But so now I'll go with the defense. And to me, defensive wise, I really don't see the uptick in progression yet.
Mm-hmm.
Just I don't, especially in the paint. I think what I was looking for was more protection in the paint protection, which I thought I would get from Sarr. Then I thought, okay, well, if I'm not getting for Sarr, I would definitely get it from Valanciunas, which which I'm not getting.
Yeah. Before we get too far into it, because I got a couple defensive specific questions for you. Brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas and BetOnline. It's your number one source for all your sports betting needs of the season. The NFL in full swing. You can bet on preseason games if you want to. And obviously, the NBA regular season is coming up here in about a week. So get your bets ready for that. Get the latest stats, news, scores, everything you think of for your favorite teams. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Just going back to the defense here, which side of the ball takes longer to really buy into the scheme on and learn what the team wants you to do and build the chemistry on? Is it the defensive end of the court here?
Yeah. Yes, because defensive end, you don't really have to learn another player's style of play.
Okay.
You don't have to learn where, I know he likes to cuss this. I know defense is based on pretty much a screen or just a lot of talking, especially now with the defense, the way defense is this day, it's all switches anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So defense is more of the effort of saying, okay, if we coming together to be collectively to be a strong defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's our number one priority. And which to me, Washington, the way, it's going to take a while to develop offensive chemistry. It does, especially a new team with a lot of new guys and new starting positions. That takes time to progress and to happen. It's a lot of times it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But defensive wise, it's all about just being on one accord. It has nothing to do with your style of defense or my style of defense. Mm-hmm. So defensive wise, it's easier to come together and be a better player defensive wise.
I feel like that's the end of the ball where I have the hardest time judging what's actually going on in the court because we don't really know what the coaches are trying to tell them to do. Poole may be running a guy a certain direction because that's the scheme and he's supposed to have help there. And if the helper's not there, Poole looks really bad. So is it Poole's fault or is it, Koulibaly's fault? It's just a little harder without that sort of background knowledge. But the interior defense, I think, is one thing that you were hitting on already, like that you can point to of just we're just not putting up much of a fight at the rim so far. And they were actually, I think, a little better when it was Sarr out there by himself against smaller units, but it was also teams that they didn't have a paint presence anyway that they felt comfortable doing that against. But with he and Valanciunas out there together, they just look slow. They don't rotate very well together. And the only thing Valanciunas really gives you is if there is a defensive rebound in the area, he's probably going to get it. Like that's his, his bread and butter is kind of ending the possession, but he's not really a deterrent. Teams don't seem scared to go at him. And that looked really bad, especially in that first Raptors game, I thought.
Well, I did see progression with Valanciunas trying to protect the paint more from the first Raptors game to the last one.
Yeah, I thought so.
With Sarr, the problem I see with him is since he has to guard so much action that's not in the paint, when he is that guy to be in the paint, he's over helping. He's late on. So he's trying to protect everything at the rim, which I figured him to be, he's going to end up being a better rim protector than I thought, but he's kind of late to a lot of things right now. But the problem is since he's protecting everything at the rim, he's letting everything get in the paint. So he's not being proactive, right? So he's saying, well,
trying to clean it up after the fact.
He tried to clean it up. He needs to stop trying to clean it up and say, let me be proactive and stop it even from getting in here. Now I don't have to protect everything at the rim. So he's a young guy, and that's what young guys do. They try to jump and block everything at the rim instead of saying, hey, let me be instinctive and let me really be, like, let me take action instead of being a reaction type of player. So right now he's reacting to the minute paint. You got to stop. You got to shut that off. And Valanciunas did do a better job against Toronto last game of shutting it off a little more. He didn't do a good job of the first games. So, and he didn't do a good job against New York either.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, and I thought it would be a good look once they were in the game together, playing together, and it didn't happen. But I would not give that up yet. I would still keep trying to push that. And if you keep pushing it and make them, and if they can get adjustments that really learn it, I think it'd be very effective to have two big guys in there. Now, Valanciunas can stop it. Sarr can clean it up. He can help off more. What he does, what I'm seeing with Sarr really is he's not used to guarding a lot of action.
Yeah.
He's not that he can't move his feet.
Yeah.
It's he's doing one thing and saying, okay, I did this, and then let me break, and then something happens. Right. He has to already be instinctive of the next thing. He'll get there.
I'm totally with you, by the way. I think he's got the physical tools to do that at a really high level. And I think that's what makes him so appealing is that, he can move his feet out on the perimeter with these quicker guys. And now if you can play him next to another bigger guy and have a lot of size around the rim, that's awesome. I thought they'd be further ahead on the defensive end together right away. And I thought on the defensive end, and I thought the offense would be the part that struggled, but Sarr shooting the ball really well from three. And I thought that helped the spacing a lot. And that wasn't, as big an issue as I thought, they would have as a pairing. But the problem for them offensively has been just the tempo. This team wants to play fast, and Valanciunas out there with the starting five, they're slowing down and waiting for him a lot of the time to try to catch up and set up in the paint. So Sarr is still able to spread the floor around him fairly effectively, although I don't think they're really guarding him like he can shoot super well yet. But on defense, I agree with you. I think that they can work out. I'm actually more troubled long-term about their offensive fit together just because of the tempo, even though it's looked better initially than I expected it would.
I think they're finding themselves in half-court offense situations more than they want to. And then I'm watching the half-court offense. It's just a two-man game on whatever side they choose, and then they have three on the opposite side. And those three on the opposite side aren't moving enough to me. So now it's just a still offense. If you know how to play the two-man game and defend a two-man game, it's no movement. There's no movement. So I think it's more. I see the defense opened up more. Offense. I'm sorry. I see the offense opens up more when Kispert gets in the game.
It helps a lot.
It helps a lot.
The cutting, the shooting,
the shooting, more opportunity because now he is getting into the paint more. He's more versatile. Otherwise, we're not really utilizing our scoring ability. We're not utilizing our individual scoring ability. We're not utilizing guys who can get in the paint and dump downs. We're not utilizing penetrating the pitch. And you're supposed to spread the floor two on one side and three on the other, but it's no that opposite side with the three is no back cuts, no.
Yeah, you still got to move.
Yeah, there's no movement.
Yeah, whatever they start out at, they seem to finish every play that way.
But it's early, and they're still trying to learn the offense, trying to learn the action. You have some guys. They just have to learn how to play off the ball. Right, they just have to learn how to play the ball. When you see Kispert in the game, it looks much better. When you see Keyshawn George in the game, it looks even better. It looks even better because those guys, to me, naturally have always learned how to play without the ball in their hand.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's the value you get from the international background, I think, is you have to play that way, and it's not as ISO heavy. To me, the best the offenses looked the whole time is in the third quarter of this third game against the Raptors, where they had a lineup of Kuzma basically being the de facto point guard, surrounded by Coulibaly, Kispert, Keyshawn George. And I honestly forget who the fifth guy out there was, but the ball really moved and like they were swinging it all over the place. And I'm like, yes, this is what you want. Guys were like rotating and replacing each other and like, okay, or cutting and replacing each other. Like, this is awesome. And then they made that run and you're like, okay, we want more of this. But this also leads me to another issue I've seen so far is the Poole Kuzma chemistry is not there so far. At least I don't think that's where you end up with the most of somebody standing around when they're both out there together. And I feel like when you stagger them and it's Poole around a bunch of shooters or Kuzma kind of initiating and driving and kicking for people, like that's where they've kind of looked their best so far. And it's just hard when you have two high usage guys that they both look their best without the other. And that's the biggest thing I'd be focused on trying to clean up right now if I'm Brian Keefe, of like finding ways that they can both be effective. When Kuzma has the ball and Poole's out there, he just kind of stands in one corner and doesn't move a lot. And when Poole has the ball and Kuzma doesn't, it's kind of the same thing. And they don't seem to know how to play off each other. And I'm wondering, Chai, like, why couldn't you run like some pick and roll with them together? Like they're guarded by different sized guys, but I don't think I've ever seen them do that like one time that I can remember.
So what's happening is when we have an offense, half court set, we're setting it up too late. Like we're waiting for it to set up. So now the defense is set up, right? To me, I think that we should have if Poole is bringing that ball down, say for instance, he's bringing the ball down, push the ball, bring it down pace, and someone sets a drag screen right after half court, as soon as you cross half court. Now that opens up some action. Poole can get downhill. Now, if he can make decisions downhill, then now action starts to happen. Things open up, right? Another thing I'm seeing is, and you feel like you don't have to explain this to NBA players, but what's happening is no one sees action. No one sees the opportunities. So now, other than that two-man game running on the side, I now have to say, okay, top third man, right? What do you see? What's your possibilities? What's your opportunities? Right? Let's go through them. Okay, second, third man. You also switch and then see what's up there. What's your opportunities? So now you gotta say, all right, now at least all three of those guys on the opposite end know at least 3 to 4 opportunities they can take advantage of while that two-man game is rolling, instead of just sitting there. But back to what you were talking about, I think a drag screen, a good drag screen, either from the man taking the ball out to come back and catch up with that point, run a quick drag screen action. I think that's what we're missing, because even if they are set up half court, we're missing paint touches.
Yeah. Is there a reason that you can think of that they haven't done much of that so far? Like, why wouldn't, like, it seems pretty straightforward. Why haven't we seen any of that from them yet?
Because the game is going toward the European field more. Now I can see them trying to run a more of a European style offense, like a Denver or actually like a Serbia this summer. They're trying to go with a lot of those type of screens.
Okay.
Screen action, like a
Spain
double
pick and roll
screen,
type of stuff.
a quick screen, a lot of opportunities off that 2-man game and that screen action, which is fine, but that's going to take a while to really get a feel for, because that's not something that just happens overnight. That's something you're going to all summer. You really have to really get a feel for, because it's not always based on a play. It's based on what the screen man does, or you drop it off, or he dribbles to you, or you pass it to him and then you run off this way. So it's based off all these options in that little screen action.
Yep.
So and now if I'm the three guys on the opposite side, I'm like, okay, I'm looking for all these options in that screen action. Well, now I'm just sitting there watching, because I got to figure out what's going on. So it's so much based off of screen and opportunities. You have to teach that in concepts. You just can't teach that as a this is our offense. It's because it's too many concepts that come out of that one thing.
Gotcha. That makes sense. This is a comment from It Never Makes No Sense in the chat. It says, I think the biggest issue is both Kuzma and Poole aren't fast enough processors to make decisions in a European offense. And these are guys that have played ISO heavy styles, and they're not pure point guards in that sense. So I think there's something to that, where like if you had a Tyus Jones right now, does that ball swing a little quicker? But my counter to that would be, when Kuzma was that de facto point guard out there in that third quarter, I thought the ball moved great. So it worked, again, a very small sample size, but it
moved great because you have one of the primary scorers being a primary facilitator now. Right. So now everybody else it works great, because now, other than Poole and Kuzma, most of the guys on the floor have got their money or made their mark off playing off the ball. So it's a natural instinct in the field. Right? It's tough for guys who never had to play off the ball and create everything for themselves to be in the European offense, where everything is about instinct and feel off the ball.
Sure. That makes sense. Just in general, Poole, I thought, had a really good first game, and I was underwhelmed by the next two games. Give him a little slack in the third game here, because he did get his bell rung pretty bad. Kuzma, I thought, was bad the whole preseason thus far, with the exception of like one quarter in the third quarter there. And I haven't loved what I've seen from Valanciunas so far overall, although him with the second unit, especially running pick and roll with Bub Carrington, I thought was really effective, but just go kind of slow and plodding so far. So as someone who's lived this, like, my assumption is that this is the vets just being like, it's the preseason. I'm not 100% ready to go yet. I don't have to take it that seriously, but that's what I'm hoping, that these guys didn't magically just get worse over the summer. But I don't know, how seriously do veteran players take preseason typically?
You don't, because you're a veteran player. You understand it's 41 home games and 41 away games.
Yeah,
and you understand, like, this. Okay, let me work myself into this grind. Sure. So to me, when I'm watching Kuzma out there preseason, I feel like he's not taking it very seriously, and he's just kind of playing around. I know what I can do. I know what I worked on this summer. So let me just kind of take some, have fun out here a little bit. And you can tell it, but the problem is he's taking some ridiculous shots.
Yeah,
that's like
they both have chucked a couple where I was like,
yeah, yeah, but you also got to help these rookies out.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's a thin line, because hey, I know what I can do. I know when it's time to show up, I will most nights, because I'm built for this. But not only that, I've been doing this so long. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not taking it as serious. So yeah, maybe let me get these other guys involved, and and that's what they're doing. They're trying to really get these other guys involved a lot too. Yeah. So with Kuzma, I'm not as worried about how he's approaching preseason as I am really looking at how Poole is approaching preseason.
Mm-hmm. That first preseason game from Poole, I was like, yes, do this all year. He picked his spots. He only shot when he had like a clear advantage, and the 6 assists to one turnover. He was making just like smart, straightforward reads. He wasn't doing crazy shit. You saw him to get a little flashier, a little more ambitious with some of the passing in the second game. I had five turnovers. I don't have in front of me, but just kind of zinging the ball all over the place. Like we need them to be, both of those guys, to be more careful with the ball. Because I think with that many rookies playing high minutes, those guys are going to turn the ball over. They're going to have mistakes. You can't have your veteran guys, combining for like 10 turnovers in a game. Like there's just no way you can win a basketball game if between them, those two and Valanciunas, you end up with like 13 turnovers. Like it's just impossible to win a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd rather get the turnovers now.
Yeah,
to get him during the season.
Sure.
And a lot of them is because he's trying to learn the players. But but what I do like is that he's actually passing the ball and trying to facilitate. Yeah. So once that chemistry goes, he has to be a better passer to the point to where he can't turn the ball over. Like, especially Poole. You can't have Poole with a lot of turnovers. It's just those two things are not going to go well together and not going to help the team out and not going to help him out individually.
Yep.
So that's something I'm sure he understands that he can't do, and if that's the case, figure it out now.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask this question, and I'm going to butcher this person's name, so apologies in advance. Please tell me in the chat phonetically how you pronounce it, and I'll do a better job the second time you ask a question. But Kwekugana is asking, do you think Brogdon starts? And I just want to talk about Brogdon in general. He probably is out another 6 or 7 weeks with a hand injury. I think that's been a real disservice for them in the preseason here because he's just such a solid, smart guy. I think he would have made like everybody settling in together a lot easier as like that connective tissue. Do you think what role do you see for him, I guess, once we get him back into the lineup? Like missing the first 2 months or, realistically is pretty tough. It puts you pretty behind the curve of figuring out who all fits together and who does what role and how they all kind of mesh.
I'm hoping Brogdon is that thread guy, guy who gets his threads sewed into everything in and out in the offense and the defense to the point to where you can't really do anything because he has his hands in so many things. Like, that thread guy. Mm-hmm. If he does take on that role and become that, because he's so solid and patient and poised and naturally that type of player to me is that helps everybody out. Because now, right, and to me, what they're trying to run fits Brogdon as a patient guy. So sometimes you just need to see, okay, I see how you have to have that one guy to watch and can make you feel the offense. Because to me, it's right now a lot of guys trying to work an offense that they never worked before, and they really trying to like embody it and get a natural feel for it. Because if you don't, it's just a tough offense. Mm-hmm. So Brogdon, I think, is that guy who's going to really say, all right, guys, let me show you how the movement and, just feel this offense. And then everybody can work off him or really see how he works with the offense. I think he'll be a starter. I'm not sure, but he definitely can eventually work himself in the starting position. But I'm looking at the starting 5 now. I'm trying to figure out where will be good for him to fit. Mm-hmm. But to me, the coaching staff and this team needs a Brogdon for the system they're trying to run.
Yeah, whether he starts or not, I think 25 plus minutes of game of Brogdon being a steadying presence will go a long way for them. In this third preseason game, they switched to a starting lineup of Jordan Poole, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Kyle Kuzma, and Alex Sarr. And I thought it was the best they've looked so far. And to me, I'd rock with that as the starting 5. Yeah. Or, whether it's Kispert in there with them instead of George, if you don't want to start true rookies, like whatever the case may be, I'd go with that, like more speed-oriented mobile unit to start these games and then play Valanciunas, the few that you have like big plotting, big body centers. Like if you play Philly and you want to start Valanciunas against, Embiid or Jokic or whatever, I'm good with that situationally. But I just think they've looked crisper when they didn't start those two guys together, at least until they figure out that chemistry we talked about.
I just think you got to make Valanciunas run. It's not that he can't run.
Yeah.
He just chooses not to right now, right? I mean, he doesn't have to. Like, he has to understand this is going to be a running offense. It's going to be a running this situation is going to be running. So if he's running a lot in practice, eventually, is he going to be faster than Sarr? Is he going to be faster than most people on the team? No. But
got to do more than what you're doing.
He can be much faster than what he is. But yeah, to me, this is an offense where you need quick bodies and quick scores, right? To me, Corey Crisper is going to really be a major factor in this style of offense. Yep. You know, I don't know if you can somehow even work him into starting lineup, but it wouldn't be bad for him to play as a sixth man that takes turns in and out that lineup, that first starting lineup where he's going and kind of taking different people's roles, you know, in and out, because you need quick hitters. You need quick hitters, and you need guys who can get up and down the floor.
Do you think Marvin Bagley or Rashawn Holmes play many games for this team or get a lot of minutes for this team? Based on what we've seen so far, I'm not expecting either of them to play a whole lot here, assuming that both Sarr and Valanciunas are healthy.
I think Bagley can give us something. I think Bagley sometimes probably can offer us a lot in situations more than Valanciunas. And then Valanciunas can offer us some things more than Bagley, right? But I think Bagley's just more versatile. When you're talking about speed, he's physical enough. If he wants to, he can be a scrappy rebounder. Valanciunas is just a big body who knows how to use his body and rebound, right? He's athletic, but I think Bagley is just more quicker laterally. And I think we're going to need that during the season, throughout the season, just another quick body. You know, Bagley can give you a hard-nosed, hard-working 15 and 10.
That's what I want him to embrace, is like be the dirty work, energy, hustle guy, you know, beat guys down the court, just put things back around the rim, like do the cleanup stuff. Because I think, especially if he's just playing harder than his matchup, he can do that.
And believe it or not, that'd be easier for him. Okay, look, this is going to be your role. Just be a scrappy cleanup guy. Be hard to box out. Be hard to, you know, and you're a quick guy. He can guard a 1 through 5.
Yeah.
So he has good feet movement. So he does that. That's just, to me, that will be much more effective than Valanciunas right now.
I think so too. I think he just fits that. Like you said, he's more like he doesn't have to be a drop coverage only big, and that's huge for them.
Yeah, and you can have him in there with Sarr.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd like to see a little more.
It's a quicker body. He can be one of the first and second guys down the court.
Yep. Right, and if Sarr's going to keep making shots, you can negate the fact that Bagley's not going to shoot it from super far out too.
Yep.
All right, let's transition into tonight's game against the Brooklyn Nets, who are also not very good in terms of relative NBA standards so far. They've only played one preseason game, which they lost. But the game is tonight, again, October 14th. So if you're listening to this on Monday, you will have not seen the game yet. Listening to it after the fact, well, this was our preview. Game's at 7:30 p.m. It's at Barclays Center. It'll be on Monumental Sports and Entertainment Network. So check that out. So far through 3 preseason games, the Wizards are averaging 1.2 points per game on 43% shooting, and they're allowing 112 points per game on 44% shooting. Brooklyn, again, only one game so far. They got outscored by about 9 points and got outshot by about 10%. But I just think they've got some pieces on this team. Like, their starting 5 in this game is likely going to be Dennis Schroeder, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Nick Claxton is out with a hamstring injury. So they started Ben Simmons at center, basically. He didn't look super great in what little I saw of it. He had like 2 points and 3 rebounds or something, but that is an interesting, fast, mobile lineup. And I think this is another one for the Wizards where you don't need Valanciunas to match up with Ben Simmons. Like, Sarr can contain him, you know, just fine as your lone kind of real big out there. But they've got Zaire Williams, who had a pretty good first game, Keon Johnson, who had a good first game, Jalen Wilson was a player from Kansas, Noah Clowney from Alabama, Dariq Whitehead from Duke, Amari Bailey from USC. They've got a lot of like young athletic wings, and I think they're a team that they're going to be bad, but I feel like that's a team just because they have so many like youthful athletic dudes might actually surprise a few people. But overall, Jahadi, just looking at where Brooklyn is at, I got to figure that they're probably another team like looking to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, just given who they traded in the offseason and things like that. So I don't know. Do you think Brooklyn will want to win games here or not? Or will you see them trade off some of these veteran guys?
No, they're going to get rid of some of the veteran guys. Brooklyn is in a rebuilding process themselves.
Yeah.
You know it. You know, it's just what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they got a lot of guys who are quick and kind of versatile.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you have a lot of those guys that's too similar,
that's true. How do you play
you
them all
can
together?
end up in a situation like Detroit was in.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a gift and a curse. So I think. And then again, they only played one game. So I never can go off the first preseason game. Everybody has one good game in preseason, usually. Yeah, so it's tough to really judge Brooklyn off that one game so far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I think we have more experience at this point.
Yeah,
because not just because we played so many games, but we got a chance to adjust against one team already because we played one team twice. So when you play a team twice, you can start making adjustments. Hey, this is what happened. This is this. So now you're further along than a team that just got out there and just test the waters so far.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I think we'll do good this game.
It just seems like it makes sense on paper here too. Like it kind of fits with like what the Wizards can do well. I think is a pretty interesting thing. Like we'll see some good matchups here. Like Schroeder played unreal perimeter defense in the Olympics. I think him on Sarr is a pretty good matchup. Just in terms of matchup,
Schroeder guarding Sarr?
Sorry, I meant Poole. Sorry, excuse me. Okay. A total misspeak on my part. I looked ahead of my notes. Yeah, that would be an interesting matchup for sure if you had Schroeder on Sarr. Schroeder on Poole. I think we'll really see where Jordan Poole is offensively right now, with that guy kind of playing scrappy up in his face defense.
I'm actually looking forward if this happens to see how Bub guards Schroeder.
That'd be cool,
right? Because I think that's where we're going to see. Okay, because I'm expecting him to give him a little bit more, pressure, maybe even turn him over a few times if that's the case, But that's really going to tell me a lot to where Carrington is.
Mm-hmm. I love that point because I think the one thing I've noted about actually both Bub and Keyshawn George have been probably better defensively through 3 games than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
But Bub has mostly guarded kind of not the fastest, most explosive guys. He's kind of been more physical and bodying people. Mm-hmm. Schroeder will be the fastest guy he's guarded so far. So I love that you just said that because that'll show you like if he can match up with the quicker guards in the league like that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you said, George, I feel like we haven't put him in a situation yet to where we can really see him either. I think George got a lot of Bilal Coulibaly in him.
I think so.
Right. Too. I like how he reads anticipation, his instincts and how he reads anticipation and reactions. Like he sees things about 3 steps ahead so far, just me watching him, right? To the point to where he can be in the position where it's 2 guys guarding him and he won't lose the ball. He's still have natural feel, knows how to read that. So I think him and Coulibaly and Bub could really be our top three defenders.
That. Yeah, I had no real expectations for him defensively this year. I just thought it would take for George. I just thought it would take him a while, the longest of the 3. He wasn't particularly good at Miami, and he looked slow for most of the year. But he already looks more explosive than he did last year.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing I wasn't expecting. But like,
I don't know, definitely unexpected. You're right.
Like, is that NBA strength training? Is that just growing into your frame as a guy who grew late in his high school career? Like, I don't know how you explain a guy just looking like more athletic like 2 months later.
It's feel.
Feel?
Okay. That's something you can't teach.
Okay.
Right. So probably in college, the speed of the game and what he had to do. Mm-hmm. But I'm watching a lot of feel, just a lot of natural feel. For the game, a lot of natural, like seeing things ahead of when they happen to, like you can't teach feel. He has a lot of good feel and read of the game to me, just the natural part. Nothing of where this plays happen or anything. He can say, okay, I see this guy. That's the pass the lane. It's just a lot of good natural feel.
The guy he's kind of reminded me of so far, and this is maybe a crazy comp, so bear with me, but like prime Utah Joe Ingles. He's like 6'8". Like Joe kind of ran point guard for them and was like the ball, like the role, or sorry, Jesus, the ball handler in the pick and roll a lot of times is the initiator.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think George can do that as a bigger guy with handle, and then you can do a lot of like inverted stuff. He has the feel to swing the ball. Joe was like a 40% 3-point shooter for a couple of years there, like real sniper. But he wasn't this crazy guy, like crazy athletic guy, but he defended everybody so well because he was just like kind of ahead of them and had him well scouted. And I think exactly what you just said with that feel, like he knew kind of where to be because he was just reading how the play was going. Like I think George could be like that really high level connective starter for a long time. And with the ceiling to do more, like I'm not capping him there, but like that's what I saw in like that last preseason game of just like that play where Kuzma kicked him the ball and rather than shoot it, he ball faked and then threw it to Kispert. I was like, yes, like we need that guy to make like these like other sort of connective passes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be huge for him.
Yeah. I mean, just with him, that's what it is. It's something you just can't teach, and that's something that just helps the team out a lot.
Yep, totally agree. Yeah, you need more guys that get that kind of thing. We talked about the major storyline there already. Again, I think this is two teams vying for the worst record in the league, although they've got dudes to get rid of, whereas the Wizards, I think even just as assembled, will be bad enough to be in the flags sweepstakes no matter what. So going to be interesting to see. Just another quick note here. The Wizards signed John Butler Jr., Taylor Funk, and Mo Gay, not the Washington State Mo Gay, the one that played for a couple other NBA teams like Toronto, I want to say, to Exhibit 10 deals. These guys are likely to be waived here pretty closely, in the next couple weeks, I would say, at a minimum before the preseason ends, because they get incentivized once they're on an Exhibit 10 deals to go join the G League team. So this is basically the Capital City Go-Go roster you're looking at. And I think that's even more important with George being further ahead than I expected. I doubt he plays a lot of minutes with the Go-Go. So they can fill out, with some of these other guys. And Butler has some potential. Funk had that crazy, 30-point summer league game. Like he's a knockdown shooter. So I think that's, going to be very interesting to see who they kind of fill this out with. And they're adding athletic guys. They either have skills that translate like shooters or like versatile positional size. So, it's cool to me that they're filling out G League guys with guys that eventually make sense for the direction they're going with, the actual big ball club too.
Yeah, I agree. I think I like that they're taking a different direction of getting guys for the G League and how they're getting them and the process they're doing it where they seem like they're really being a little bit more strategic, a lot more strategic with it. Of making sure they get quality guys that can end up progressing into complete NBA players.
Yep. Yeah, it's not just like here are the best 10 dudes we can get. It's like here are people who really fit the common, blueprint. And should also note that the Wizards have signed or hired or promoted essentially a new general manager for the Capital City Go-Go in Jonathan Wall, not that John Wall, different John Wall. This is a guy that's Harvard educated, is a lawyer, worked as a player agent for a bunch of years, and seems like a really smart, sharp guy. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing, what he can do. He's got connections with other players and agencies and things like that. So I think he'll kind of help, them make those other connections they need to keep filling out the G League roster.
Worked as a player agent. You know what agency?
I do not know off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
Not for a long time either. I think he was doing other types of law. Yeah, seems like a really sharp guy. Everything I've heard from people that have some dealings with him so far is like this is a great hire. Like you'll like this dude. He's going to get exactly what Dawkins and Winger are going for. Fits the vision. Previous Go-Go GM Amber Nichols has been promoted to basically player, selection and scouting type role. I forget the exact title, but she'll still be within the organizational structure. And now they're giving a chance to the other John Wall to come in here and be that next person to progress up through the ranks. So sounds good to me from what I've heard, but obviously we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, John, I want to switch gears here a little bit as we start to wrap this thing up. The NBA GM survey came out, so I want to run through a couple of the results here with you, just of the major questions that they asked. So the first one was, which team will win the 2025 NBA Finals? Any guesses for who the top three were vote getters from NBA GMs?
Boston.
Yep, that's one.
New York.
Nope.
Three.
They had some playoff success last year. That helps.
Denver.
Nope.
Hold on. Stop. Hold on. Boston. Last year. Minnesota.
The other finals team is in the top three. I'll give you that.
Who did Boston play in the finals?
They blew them out so bad it doesn't even register. I had to think
not Indiana. Indiana.
No, it's
Indiana. Hold on. Dallas.
Dallas, that's right. Yeah, Dallas is third with 3% of the vote. Oklahoma City was second with 13% of the vote, and Boston got 83% of the vote from GMs that they would win the finals again this year, which it's really hard to repeat in the NBA. So them getting that high a percentage means that I think the whole league views them as like very clearly the best team again.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to follow.
No, I got number one right, but that's the main one. But yeah.
Boston.
Dallas. Yeah, Dallas could be tough again this year. Mm-hmm. Did they make any moves?
They added some shooting. They got Klay Thompson, which will be interesting.
They did get Klay.
They added Najee Marshall to replace Derrick Jones Jr., similar style player. They did lose like Tim Hardaway Jr., who didn't play a lot, so you'll see more minutes for Jaden Hardy. They basically just kind of like added periphery guys that can continue to like provide spacing around
guys
Kyrie
who spread the floor.
Yeah, so I like that.
Open it up for Kyrie and Luka.
I think this is actually a better fit for Klay at this point in his career because
absolutely.
Like he doesn't have to do all the movement to get open now. It's like guys that will draw a ton of attention can kick it out to him, for catch and shoot threes. And I think that'll streamline some stuff for him.
Yeah. I mean, now it's just be real. I mean, in the end of the day, now Klay is just a spot up guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he pretty much has been his entire career, but he also had a lot of some versatility added on to it a little bit, Mm-hmm. But now he's your Mike Millers or he's just a spot up. But there's nothing wrong with that, because I mean, that's one of the best shooters in the league.
Yeah, I think that'll make Luka's life so he just has so much gravity. Like it's hard to cheat off Klay Thompson.
You can't cheat off of him, right? You got to respect that.
The other teams that you mentioned here are all high in the Western Conference rankings. Minnesota, Denver, teams like that. Phoenix got a decent amount of votes, so we'll see. All right, so who you think the GMs voted as most likely to win MVP this upcoming season?
Most likely to win MVP this upcoming season. Season MVP.
Yep.
Brunson.
Brunson did not get votes, actually. SGA was 40% of the vote, which is, that means that they're expecting Oklahoma City to be really good, which, I mean, makes sense, especially if somebody like Chet gets better too.
That makes sense. And they're young.
Exactly.
They're young and he'll
play a lot of games.
Right. Well, I'm surprised. To me, it would be between Brunson, SGA, and
Ant-Man. Anthony Edwards did get some votes. They had SGA 1, Luka Doncic 2, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and Jason Tatum were all tied for third, with Giannis, Jaylen Brown, and Anthony Edwards all getting votes. Okay, so the next question they asked the GMs is, which franchise, if you were to start a franchise today and could sign any player in the league, who would you want it to be? Victor Wembanyama was number 1. SGA was number 2, which is actually a little surprising to me for some reason. And then Jokic was 3, and Luka Doncic was 4. I guess any argument with how the GMs voted there. Is Wembanyama the first guy you would start a franchise with?
Yeah, because he's so versatile.
Mm-hmm.
And the young. To me, if I'm starting a franchise, I'm starting with a young guy.
Yeah,
I'm starting with a young guy that's so impactful and so dominant that they have just as much impact as one of the top vets, right? Like one of the top premier stars that's been around. So because I want to have the guy around.
Yep.
So the closest person that fits any of that criteria is Wemby. I mean, that's it. Second one would be at BSGA.
Yeah.
Right, because he's young, so
I would have had Anthony Edwards somewhere in that mix too. He was not in the top 5, which was a little surprising to me. Like, just given how young he is, to exactly to your point there. Like, he's got a lot of room left to grow, I think.
And you want Anthony Edwards also because he's a natural leader.
I think so too.
Yeah.
He's also just like good vibes and like good to market and
know,
all those
we
things.
We don't know what type of leader Wemby is, but I did like how passionate he played and how he tried to rally his team during the Olympics.
Yep, I'm totally with you.
So I saw a different side of him that I didn't know existed.
Yeah, that was really encouraging, right? Like, just he's taking this like real personally here. Like, that's big. All right, the question I hated the most in terms of answers here, they asked which player is most likely to have a breakout in 2024 or 2025. Number 1 was Oklahoma.
Number 1 was what?
Yama.
What was number 1? You start over. Start the list over.
Jalen Williams from Oklahoma City, which to me is stupid because he was already really good last year. So I don't really think that's a breakout. Evan Mobley, okay, fine. Ja Morant, I don't know how Ja has a breakout. The guy's already been like a top 5 in MVP voting once before. That's more like a comeback to me than a breakout. And Wembanyama was like unreal last year as a rookie. So I don't really know how he breaks out unless he like becomes an MVP this year, which I guess could happen. And then they had Paolo Banchero tied for 5th with Cade Cunningham and Brandon Miller. Like, Cade and Brandon Miller are better answers to this. To me,
Cade probably the best answer.
I actually agree with you here too. Like, because he's been good and he had hype, but he hasn't been like star level, all-star level kind of guy yet.
Right. I mean, Cade been through hell. Let's be real. Like, playing with Detroit, everything going on, not being able to really even be on a semi-marketable team at all. No, like, so even if
on national TV,
right now, national TV. So to me, but his upside is crazy, and you can just tell even being through that storm. Like, he had to play in the storm every time.
For sure.
He still sustained. So now, if we can see a Cade in a regular situation, like, cool. That's something you'll see a good player. So to me, it'd be Cade.
Yeah, he's the realest answer on this list. Like, again, Jalen Williams averaged like 18, 5, and 5 last year on a top couple seed in the West. Like, that's he could have been an all-star in year 1, in year 2 or 3 there. Like, that's a weird answer to me. But the Ja one is the worst. Like,
Ja, that's not a breakout.
He's a multi-time MVP.
That's like saying Zion.
Yeah, exactly right. Anthony Edwards got votes.
No.
This is just
they didn't understand the question. Obviously.
Exactly. Yep. Some other ones, best point guard, they voted Luka Doncic, best point guard in the NBA, which I think is a little weird. I guess he does run a lot of offense, but
he does run point.
Best shooting guard, they had Anthony Edwards. Best small forward, Jason Tatum. Best power forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that one's kind of a no-brainer. Best center, they had Jokic, Embiid, and then Wembanyama was already 3rd on that list. And they just announced today that Joel Embiid may never play back-to-backs again for the rest of his career. You could see somebody like Wembanyama maybe start to jump him a little bit, just given
Joel Embiid looked like he struggled during the Olympics, just rebounding.
Exactly.
He seemed like he was such a step slow on defense. So what I'm watching is him deteriorate on defense rapidly to me. Rebounding, so now, he's still a primary scorer, but I think he's a liability defensively.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. 2 ones that relate to the Wizards, and I'll just kind of wrap us up there at this point. They said, which rookie will be the best player in 5 years? Houston guard that came from Kentucky, Reed Shepherd, got 43% of the vote at number 1. Steph Castle for San Antonio was number 2. Zachary Risachet for Atlanta was number 3. And tied for 4th were Bub Carrington and Alex Sarr. So I'm glad people are giving them a little love right out of the bat here, or right out of the gate here too. So nice to see them, get some answers.
I like that. I like that, and I agree with that. I don't know tied for 4th, but I understand why. Because you wouldn't even expect Bub Carrington to be on the radar.
Yeah,
but
sure.
his summer league, the way he played in summer league, he changed everybody's perspective. You're like, okay, so now that's a great pick. I think, not to change the subject, but it's kind of leading to it. I think now watching with George, Carrington, and Sarr, I think Wizards did a good job.
They got a great core so far. I'm really excited, man.
They did a good. They did that C grade.
Looking like an A.
Look like
Maybe an A+.
They probably did one of the best jobs.
I think
so far. Just looking at preseason, they did a good job.
Just having 3 guys to be excited about is so anti-Wizards. I can't think of the last time they had multiple first-round picks that had like intrigue. So that they're 3 high upside guys that you can get excited about. I think this year, they may actually be worse than last year overall record-wise, but I think it'll be a more fun season just because hopefully those guys all get, more usage, and Koulibaly, you get to still, he's basically a rookie again this year to me too.
Yeah.
Last year was just, it was kind of like, house money essentially getting him NBA reps. Like he's Sarr's age basically. So that's cool to me.
No, it gives you something like, okay, all right, I can see where these guys going. There's something to believe in. Now, maybe if the season isn't as good, they still betting on preparing to get more. So, okay, it may not be a great season, but we have something, and we have 3 guys, 4 to me. I was going to always include Bilal in that.
Yeah,
that we could really build something with.
Plus whoever they get next year, and if they trade any of these older guys, if they get another pick in this year's draft, then it gets real interesting real quick. But this is the fastest way to expedite a rebuild is take a bunch of guys like this and have them be impact players from day one. So I think that was they're killing it already.
They are. And you didn't realize it until now. You're starting to realize it. You're right. Okay. I see. I didn't understand the type of player Sarr was doing. Summer League does no justice for players,
especially a guy like
it did justice for Bub,
sure.
But a guy like Sarr, you didn't get to see that type of player that you see now.
The on-ball guards like that are the ones who always look the best. Just it makes sense. Keyshawn is just, I'll keep saying he's the one. I really liked the pick overall. I just thought he was 3 years away from being like an impactful guy on the court, and he already looks better than I thought he would look. At this point,
he's the most unexpected, pleasant surprise.
I questioned the Denny trade. Like, was there a way to get another lottery pick without trading him? But honestly, Bub is exciting, and similarly with Gafford, I didn't love that trade at the time either, because I just thought there were other, you could package the veterans and get a 26th pick and things like that. But they hit a home run. So
they did.
I don't know if they lucked out that guy was still on the board at 26, and no other team saw them. If I didn't love the trade, but the fact that they got the guy that they wanted to get with the guy, with that pick, I think makes this look a lot better. In retrospect.
And it's just so, and from what you're seeing now, it's only upside.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That they're this good already, but have you can see where they can get to. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
GMs were asked which rookie was the biggest steal at where they were selected in the draft, and Bub Carrington was tied for first with 10% of the vote. So I think that's also the league already saw enough. 6-way tie for first here, which is crazy. Bub Carrington tied for first with Devin Carter, who went 13th to Sacramento, Johnny Furphy, who went 35th to Indiana, Dalton Connect, who went 17th to the Lakers, Terrence Shannon Jr., who went 27th to Minnesota, and Nikola Topic, who went 12th to Oklahoma City. So a couple lottery picks and then some late firsts. And, that's That's good that he's already getting some recognition for that. So loving that. Yeah, that's really the last of the questions that relate to the Wizards in any kind of way here. But I just always think the GM survey is cool just to see, like we know as fans how we view certain players in the league, but it's interesting to see how the rest of the league views other players in the league. And it's always nice to look back on that at the end of the year and just see, oh, these guys actually had a pretty good sense for, who was about to blow up, and maybe they know what they're talking about.
Well, it's also lets you know if the organization did a good job or not.
Yeah.
How the other GMs feel.
Yeah.
And obviously, we had a lot of guys on that list, not once, but twice.
Yeah.
That lets you know that they did a pretty good job.
If George keeps looking like this, he's another guy that could show up on that steals in the draft list pretty quickly there too.
Oh yeah. And I hope he does.
Same. Yeah, that'd be cool to see. All right, Jahadi, I think that's all I got for you here, partner. Anything you want to get off your chest before we close out?
No. I'm just looking forward to it.
All right, everybody. Remember tonight, Monday night, October 14th, 7:30 p.m., Wizards against Brooklyn Nets. Let's see how our boys look. And then they'll close out the preseason on Thursday, whatever the 18th is. I guess that's Friday, right? So that'll be their last preseason game. And then the 24th, we get into some real games here. They play against the Boston Celtics at home. I will be at that game. We'll see how they look, opening the season against the champs. Hopefully there's not too much green, but we'll keep you updated no matter what. Appreciate everybody. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, click that the like button for us, rate, review, subscribe. Always appreciate that. We are presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch y'all next time.